Hello, what's up? Welcome everybody to the Bio Reef. We're gonna do a 1 month update on Waterbox. Alright, so a few of you have asked me about the process of how I set up this tank, and I've never really kind of mentioned what I did. So I'm gonna walk you through what I did in terms of making sure the rock work was all kind of cured and everything was ready to support my SPS collection. And then I'm going to tell you about some of the issues that I've been having in terms of having my SPS corals look pale and look like crap for a little bit. Alright, so we'll start with, let's say, December 2021. So I had ordered the tank. I still had no idea when it was going to come. I spent maybe a couple of months arranging the Aquascape. And by the way, I'm loving the Aquascape. If you guys look at the footage here, the B-roll, you'll see that the fish are happy. There's lots of spaces for them to kind of duck under, literally like swim throughs everywhere. And just noticing how my fish interact with each other in the water box, they're much happier. Now this could be because they're in a much larger system, but I think the rock work kind of helps. There's always spaces for them to kind of duck into if they feel harassed. And also, essentially, it's kind of like two big hollow boomies, and there's lots of space for water to flow through. So very happy with what I did. So after I finished my aquascaping, I soaked the dry rock in RODI for about a month. So from December to January. I was going to do this video where I did ICP tests on the rock before and after it cured, just to see whether it's throwing out any contaminants. A lot of people requested this. I did do the experiment. I did 4 or 5 ICP tests at different stages of the curing, but all of that got lost in the mail, so no results for that experiment. But I cured them for a month in RODI, and then they spent from January to March in salt water with Dr. Tim's. So all in all, what is that, about like 4 months of kind of curing. And then when I got the tank, I put the dry rock and the sand in March, and I just kind of had the water running. I added 2 fish to the tank in mid-March, and then a couple of weeks later in April, I moved the contents of my Red Sea Reefer 250 into the water box. This involved chipping all of my Acropora colonies off the rocks, as well as catching all of my fish, and then mounting the corals in the Waterbox 180. I tried to get as much biodiversity from the Red Sea Reefer 250 into my Waterbox. So for example, I took coralline algae from the back glass, I scraped it a little bit, and then I crumbled it and I just threw it in the Waterbox. I moved my Chaetomorpha from the refuge in the Red Sea Reefer 250, and I also moved my cleanup crew. When I was designing the water box and figuring out what equipment I'm going to run on it, I kind of did the back of the envelope measurement of like how long the Red Sea Reefer was and how many radion lights were there, and how long the water box is and how many radion lights would I need to kind of maintain the same coverage. So doing this math, it turned out that if I ran 3 XR15s on a Red Sea Reefer, I would need about 7.1 XR15s on the water box to kind of keep my coverage equivalent. So in my Red Sea Reefer, I had the 3 lights running at 80%. When I moved my SPS collection over, I obviously didn't want to shock them with a lot of light right in the early stages. So I reasoned that if I reduce the lights to 60%, then I will have reduce the par a little bit, and then I could slowly bring it up. So that's what I did. I moved my SPS corals over, and it was pretty obvious right away that the corals were unhappy. They started paling out. So I initially suspected that it was a water chemistry issue, and when I checked my nitrates and phosphates, they were both 0. And in my Red Sea Reefer 250, I had detectable nitrates around, I think, 5, and my phosphates, I forgot exactly what the levels are, but there was, substantial levels. So I started right away gradually dosing nitrates and phosphates. I did this over a period of a week or 2, kind of slowly bringing the levels up. Right now, my nitrates are 2 parts per million, and my phosphates are around 0.1, I believe. But the corals were still kind of unhappy. So I then thought, well, maybe I was giving them too little par, because they're used to 80% in my Red Sea Reefer, and now they're at 60%. But I didn't want to change the lights without kind of knowing what the par level is. So I picked up my par meter and I started measuring par all over my rock work. And to my surprise or horror, I found that actually I was really cooking the frags. So 60% on the Waterbox is giving me 400, 500 par when my SPS corals were used to, 300 par. I was really shocked about this. I measured several times, and then I realized that I made a very naive assumption when I was figuring out how many lights I need for my tank. I essentially assumed that in any given spot, the light hitting a coral is coming from directly above. And that, of course, is an incorrect assumption, right? Because light is directional, and a puck that is 2 or 3 feet from a coral is still going to be sending light diagonally across the water column. So I neglected to factor in that the more lights that I have, the more par that I will get over my simple number of pucks per linear foot. So that's why I kind of underestimated how much light the radions were putting based on my kind of just simple calculations. So lessons learned, obviously I should have just used the par meter right from day one. In terms of what the tank looks like with 2 parts per million nitrates and 0.1 parts per million phosphates, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm not seeing any major algae on the rock. A little bit of algae on the sand bed, but the tangs as well as the fox face are doing a good job of cleaning it. I'm starting to see some coral lines in back glass. So I think overall it looks pretty good. I don't think I really got an ugly phase, which I'm really happy about. So touch wood, so far so good. Then hopefully it continues to go that way. I also upped the flow a little bit. I am really digging the 4 MP40s on the back. It makes for amazing views from across the tank, from the sides. And it's clear that you could generate a lot of water movement with the MP40, so I'm happy about that. So after kind of discovering why my corals are pale and doing something about it, I decided that it's about time to start shopping. I got some really nice high-end Acropora, and I also got some LPS colonies that I think will now that I have a little bit of room, I think I might be able to sneak in some LPS in some strategic areas to just kind of add a little bit more color, but also a little bit of more motion to the tank. So let's cue in the top-down tour. All right, we'll start the top-down tour with the Hawkins Echinata, looking good, maybe a tad bit paler, but overall not bad. The Bubblegum Digi, a little bit unhappy, some retraction of the polyps, but overall doing quite well. Then the Green Slimer, looking great. Actually, that it was fairly robust. It kind of looked the same as it did in my Red Sea Reefer 250. So I'm happy about that. Then we have the Blueberry Wine, which looks like crap. So that's one colony that really suffered. Beside it is a new frag that I just picked up. Check out the colors. This is Jason Fox Solar Flare Millie. Always wanted one of these. You'll see I'm going to go a little bit nuts with the Millipores. But this thing, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, I saw it in somebody else's tank and it was like the brightest thing. So high hopes for it. Then we have the Jason Fox Fox Flame. That one also kind of substantially paled out a little bit. And then I have one of the several pieces of Pac-Man. I'm just, I put like 4 or 5 pieces of Refract Pac-Man all over the tank. I'm going to see which one actually does better. And I'm probably going to remove the others and make room for some other Acroporas. And here's another new beautiful addition to the tank. This is Jimmy Bean. Love the colors. Love the transition from green to red and the white polyps. Really awesome. Then a little bit north of this, we have the Refract Pot of Gold Millie. The color is looking good and is actually encrusting, so that's a good sign that things are heading in the right direction. And then above it is a little bit of Valida. I debated about keeping Valida, but I'm gonna keep it until I replace it with something cooler. The Pink Lemonade is doing good and it's starting to kind of encrust, so that was fairly robust for me during the move. And then the Orange Passion, Refract Orange Passion, OG Orange Passion, looking great. I was really worried about that coral. I would have hated to lose it, but it's looking great. Right beside it is the Miyagi Tort, not as electric, but not dead. So, suffered a little bit. Refract Marvin the Martian did great throughout the move. Looks great. This is another new frag. This is Refract Wolverine. Really bright, super bright yellow coral. Above it is Jason Fox Solar Flare, maybe paled out a little bit. So I would say maybe moderately unhappy. And then on top here is the Walt Disney. That Walt Disney's always looked like a tiny little frag, and I actually on purpose cut the tips to maybe encourage it to grow because it's been doing nothing for 2 years. On the bottom, we have Reef Raft Pink Cadillac, not looking too happy. Another one of my Pac-Mans. On the bottom here is half of my Jason Fox TNT and Acropora. Sorry for the focus, there it is. I have this in a couple of spots, and I'll see which one works best. And on the sand bed, there's my colony of PC Rainbow. Clearly unhappy, although I did take a couple of fragments and I put them somewhere else on the rockwork, so perhaps they'll take there. Then in my little middle island between the two rockworks, I decided to add a Euphilia garden. So I have here a hammer, a frog spawn, and an octus spawn. So hopefully they're not going to sting any of the Acropora above. And then across from them is a little flower pot coral, Gagoniopora. So there's kind of 3 color varieties, pink, green, and blue. I thought, I always try to kind of keep them before, but they never did well. So hopefully this tank will do the trick for them. Then we have our brain coral, the OG brain coral. This was my first coral. Big Al's. The clownfish are happy because they don't have the mushrooms anymore, so they're hosting the brain. And I really like the it's just green, but it works. Major Laser Frag is doing well. I don't think it kind of suffered too much from the move. And then right next to it is my Strawberry Shortcake. And surprisingly, for a sensitive Acropora, I thought for sure that was, gonna die on me, but it's doing well. A little bit paler than usual in terms of the greens, but overall, it seems to be happy. So, go figure. This is a new Millipora. This is a Flaming Sunset Millie. I told you I have a Millipora thing at the moment. So this looked great. So I had to get it. I get this from Reef Paradise. This is Cherry Pop, which I got, big shout out to Niagara Fire Corals. Steve, he hooked me up with many of these new Acropora. Really, really great. This is an Aussie Millie. It has no name, but I couldn't resist the lovely kind of rainbow and orange colors with the green polyp. So lots of potential here. And what do we have next? And right next to it is my little red Ferrari. A bit unhappy. Actually, half of this colony died out at the ST end on me. And then, hey, okay, you got to check this out. This is Reef Raft Magma. The colors on this thing are just, so unique. Reds, red polyp, oranges, fire. Fire in frag form. I can't wait to see what it will do as it gets larger. I have high hopes for this. I think it's going to be great. Then we have a bit of my, Reef Raft Rainbow Loom. It was really unhappy in my Red Sea Reefer because it was getting stung by all the mushrooms and then the change. So it seems really unhappy, but hopefully it will recover its color soon. This is the Cali Tort. Certainly paled out a little bit, browned out a little bit. But I'm starting to see like the blue in the tips come back. So I think this will recover nicely. And then this is a new frag, again, no name Aussie Coral, and I really like the pink. I don't have a lot of pinks in my collection, so I definitely am trying to get more pink corals. Then there's my other half of the TNT and Acropora getting more light. So, we'll see where it ends up with. And then we have Golden Jaw Dropper. This grew really, really big. I have a massive colony, but I cut it down to this tiny little piece because it grows really fast for me. Another kind of LPS. This is, it's not, it's Weslow. I don't remember the name, but you guys will let me know what it is. But I thought the color was kind of unique. It has a bit of a Halloween vibe to it. So, that's it. We're going to have a look at the magma again, just because it is so damn pretty. Like, check out. Yeah, it's crazy. It really is pretty awesome. Okay, that's it. The corals are, hopefully they're going to recover. And the final arrangement of the corals in the tank is not what it's going to be. I'm going to wait for kind of things to color up before moving things around to kind of maximize the color contrast in the tank. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching. Shout out to Steve from Niagara Fire Corals. Check out his Facebook. And Demo from Reef Paradise, reefparadise.ca. Check out his store in Vaughan. Really awesome stuff. So the next video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I'm running in the sump. Until then, see you later and enjoy your reefs.